So what's up, HVAC crew? Welcome back to another episode of HVAC R&D. We do have a guest on tonight. This is the second try at this, so we're pumped. We're finally got everybody together. It should be a good show. Got some, I'm looking at the notes here. We got some pretty in-depth questions. So without further ado, let's get it going.
Yeah, come on. So what's up, HVAC crew? Like Dennis said, welcome back to another episode. We're excited to have our guest on this evening, but as usual, I gotta talk for a little bit before we get there, because I want to make sure everyone knows I'm still here. Because later on, I'll disappear probably in the conversation at some point.
Right.
And of course, my dogs are gonna make sure they're here, because they're always here.
Oh, yeah.
But quick shout out, make sure to go check out the HVAC R&D Pink Warrior hat. We got just a few of them left from our breast cancer awareness fundraiser for October. I know this will be going out first Friday of November, but come on guys, we still got some time to get these out the door. Also, make sure to follow us on social media, on Instagram at HVAC R&D, as well as on TikTok, Linktree, and then Facebook. And also a big shout out to Trade Hounds. They continue to help push us, and we're growing over there. It's a great community and camaraderie for just fostering and building a big trade family with a lot of exclusive content. I post some stuff over there that you won't see on Instagram or any of our other stuff, so make sure to go check it out. Also, we're going to be dropping 2 fresh new stickers this Friday, following up on some promises, so make sure to be on Trade Hounds on Friday evening, Saturday morning. You'll see some new stuff. And then also, please just make sure that you are registered and ready to go, packed to get on the plane or get in the car, whatever you need, to get to the AHR Expo in Atlanta, February 6th through the 8th of 2023. We'll be recording live from the Podcast Pavilion 1 and 2 on the floor. Going to have some meet and greet sessions, as well as you might get to meet the ladies of HVAC R&D. So Tracy and Kristen might steal the show. Who knows? Gonna have some cool swag. Yeah, that's true. Gonna give some cool swag giveaways at the meet and greets. Gonna knock out the 5 o'clock somewhere episodes on Monday and Tuesday. So we're excited to see you guys there. And for any other information, you can always check our link tree in our social media bios. But
I was gonna say, that Trade Hounds, they're Instagram too, right?
Oh yeah, they are. That's how we get people converted.
Right.
That's how we get you converted over. So, but we're here tonight to enjoy a good conversation with a second time's the charm guest. If you guys haven't been using the AHR 2022 software award-winning app from Bluon, you might want to get that on your phone. There's over 100. Well, I know it's over 100,000, but at this point, hell, it might be over 120,000. We'll find that out pretty shortly. We're going to know the numbers inside and out. So please welcome founder, chairman, and CEO of Bluon, Mr. Peter. Welcome to the show, sir. Thank you for being on.
To be part of the wave, can't stop, ever wonder if it's all for you. The world I love, the trains I hop, to be part of the wave, can't stop, too.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. And just a word to the wise, the best way to pronounce the name is think cappuccino, and then just flip it around to Capuciati, and you're there. The best part is I'm like a quarter Italian, and I'm laced with the Italian last name, but it is what it is.
Surely nobody has screwed your last name up, right?
Yeah, never happens. Yeah,
No, and I feel awful because I likewise am very used to people ruining my entire name.
Oh yeah, Atzenhofer.
That's a tough one.
Right,
And
yeah.
and Rhydon doesn't help either.
Well, I was looking at Peter's last name on the screen here, and I was hoping I wasn't going to have to be the one to bring him out. Actually,
I pronounced it in the proper English pronunciation. Capuciati.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I'll take it. It's better than most. All good.
so what's going on, sir? How you been?
Oh man, busy as hell. Yeah, no, it's a bit of a crazy ride over here. I mean, the growth is outrageous, and it's just a ton of fun. And this business keeps changing for the better as we keep building it. And all comes down to building it through the eyes and the lens of serving the tech community. I think that's that's kind of our secret sauce, is just keep it coming back to that. But no, it's spectacular. No, it's never would have thought we'd be where we're at now a couple of years ago. But yeah, excited to talk about it and give you guys the latest and greatest and what we're up to, and hopefully educate some folks on where we're going.
Yeah,
I like it.
well, so before we get going, I don't know if you've listened to the show. You do have the notes in front of you, and hopefully you brought a brew for us. We do like to start the show. I mean, it's I don't know, it's 9:30 here.
Hours. It's after hours. It is past 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's usually too late for me to be drinking a beer, but it is what it is. This is when we have to record these. So, what have you got for us tonight? What have you brought to the show?
Yeah, I'm not really a beer guy, but I am drinking a very stiff vodka, vodka soda, which is kind of my go-to, with a little lime in it. But really, it's just an excuse to drink vodka with ice, is what it comes down to.
That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect. All right. What's your vodka choice? Do you
Tito's.
care? Tito's.
Tito's
Okay.
only. Yeah.
There you go. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Luckily, my wife actually found out that the cheaper the vodka, the better she feels, which is completely backwards. I don't
kind
know.
of agree, though, because some of the more expensive vodka is the more damaging. Right? I mean, Tito's is pretty inexpensive and awesome, but you go up the ladder sometimes, and yeah, you regret it. I would somewhat. I wouldn't go down to like the Bukoff level, but
Try to stick with a glass bottle, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. No PVC. Yeah.
Don't go down to the Burnett's. Just at least stick with the Smirnoff.
Man, Burnett's. Burnett's got a million flavors, though. All right, so I'm actually just I'm just doing a Stella tonight.
Nice.
Not too bad. I don't think I've ever drank a Stella on here, so let me crack
No, I
this
don't think
open.
you have.
I like Stella.
There we go. Yeah, it's a good. I guess you call it a light beer. Good light beer. So Rhydon usually brings
when you're in, when you're. I don't know if you guys ever traveled in Europe, but it's that flavor, that Stella flavor, so brings you back, into that world.
So will a Heineken if you drink it when you're in the Netherlands or Holland, however you want to call it.
Right.
It always tastes the best when you're there.
Oh man,
or a Peroni when you're in Italy. I have to throw that.
Ooh, I actually have some Peronis in my fridge right now. My buddies come over and like, what in the hell is that? But every once in a while I catch it in the grocery store here, so it's not too bad.
Not bad.
What you got, Rhydon? Rhydon's usually bringing a meal in a can, so.
No, I didn't. I already had I'll admit I had a couple Crown and Gingers at dinner, so we're winding down with a usual.
All right.
Signature Hitchhiker Pop Top, which in our vernacular, Hitchhiker is a Modelo. There's a long story about a joke that I told my wife one time, then it stuck.
I love it.
All right. So I guess if you want to give us, like I said, I know you've been on a few shows, and we appreciate you going around and getting on the podcast, and everybody's trying to push the trade hard. But if you want to give us just a rundown of maybe what you've been working on, or and then we'll kind of get into your background in a little bit.
Yeah, because we definitely we all love our trades and we love what we do, but we also want guys to remember it's okay to have a life.
Right.
Because sometimes we all just when we put our nose to the grindstone, it happens. So we really want to make sure that we give everybody all the fun out of work stuff every now and then too, so they stay interested. Can't give them too much tech talk all the time.
Yeah, no, it's funny, we always talk. My main focus in building this business has been building the culture and the team and just the way we work and how we work. And, we always come back to one saying that everyone who works here is sort of motivated by a service to others mentality. Like we all get our whatever you want to call it, our joy, our gratitude, our pep, whatever the hell you want to call it in life by helping a community or helping others. No one here is really all that self-interested in self-promotion. And when you put people like that together, you get some real magic. And I think that
100%.
Spirit is more embodied in the trades and particularly the tech community than it is anywhere else, like in U.S. society, right? It's, you go in the corporate world and most people are just, full of shit and self-centered and looking to stab their coworker in the back. But in the trades and the tech community, people are much more, glued at helping others. I mean, it's sort of sounds
Right.
cliche as shit, but I think it's the truth. And that's,
I didn't even think of that. That's a good point. I mean, you don't see a lot of you can't go on Instagram and find a bunch of corporate people helping everybody out on TikTok or something, right?
Exactly.
Like you see in this trade. So that's a good point.
Yeah. It's funny because the way we hire people here is we do the culture interviews first, and then if you pass the culture, then you get to do the regular interviews. And with every job that we hire, we have 158 people, and about 38 of those or 37 of those are techs. The techs and mechanics, pretty much all of them pass the culture test, right? And then it's just a matter of skill test. On the other stuff, whether it's ops or sales or software dev or engineering, it's like 50-1 that fail the culture test, right? And have to get into it's remarkable. It's like finding guys that meet the culture on the tech side is easy. It's just finding the guys with the right skills is more difficult. But we always laugh at how it's totally upside down in that world. But yeah, in terms of what we're up to, I mean, we're really, we spent this year getting our whole, for lack of a better word, e-commerce platform established, where it was initially created and letting techs and letting suppliers connect to our community, and numbers 146,000. Just FYI.
There you go.
I knew it was getting that way. The last time I saw the stats, it was in the 120s. I thought.
Yeah, no, it's growing fast. I mean, the number that matters though, we've got about 45,000 what we call Bluon pros. And those are ones that have basically given us all of their information in terms of where what are the supply houses they use, where do they shop, what do they do, where do they work on, and that information allows us to really connect them correctly at the right time when they need whatever they need. And so that's the number that we're really focused on is at that core element of the community growing. But yeah, this whole year has been getting that platform off the ground. And getting distributors, suppliers to sign up and connect on that network. And so we've got about 1,600 stores on the network. We'll have probably 2,500 by spring next year, which gives us, pretty good critical mass, around like half of all stores out there, half of all distributors in the country by the beginning of next year. So that was a big deal, right? Getting that off the ground, building all the infrastructure. And now we're all about getting guys to adopt it and try it and check it out, and figure out why it works and get the feedback. We're like a giant feedback machine, right? It's like, tell us what we fucked up and we'll build it different and tweak it, make it work. to the satisfaction of the tech, which is what we really focus on. And then we're adding, I think, I don't know if you guys know or not, but we're teaming up with a company called Curry, which these guys are, think of them like as the Uber of contractors, of distributors. And they provide that last mile delivery from the distributor.
Yep, I heard about this from one of your territory managers.
Oh, cool.
I know that's not the proper term. I know you guys
That's
use
okay.
slightly
Yeah.
different term.
That's all right.
That's what I know of, because that's what I am too. So yeah, I heard that something like that was coming.
It's a big deal, man. And what's amazing about it is it sounds super easy. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense, right? Obviously, anybody in the field would rather have a super easy like DoorDash delivery of a part or material when they need it. But it's so not so simple, because as you guys know, when you're in the field, you don't know where the hell you're going to be. You don't know who has what. You don't know the availability. You don't know where you've now gone to on the next job. So, all of those variables are so different than they are if you're ordering dinner, on Uber Eats or DoorDash. So figuring all that out, working with them has been really cool. That's going to launch, probably right around early December, and then really take off in the first quarter of next year. That'll be super cool, because now you'll be able to, get your parts and materials at your local distributor, hit a button, and, Curry picks it up, brings it to you, nothing, like super simple. And that whole idea of being able to, have those parts and materials delivered to you when you need them, where you need them, when you need them is going to be a game changer. And so we've been really ton of time working on that, along with the whole distributor network. But it's been a hell of a ride. I mean, getting all these distributors to play ball and really finance the operation, because those guys pay the bills, right? We're able to provide all this free stuff and free service to the techs and contractors as a result of the distributors playing ball and the OEMs playing ball to sort of finance the whole thing, because obviously they all benefit from having more productive and more efficient guys in the field getting more jobs done as a result.
And I also say let's hold some of that. We don't want to give them away everything first, because I want us to kind of walk through some of the path of how you even got to the point of where you guys are now, because there's some of this that Dennis and I, both of us, didn't really get into the social media scene and start even seeing stuff like Bluon until maybe I would say for me, almost less than a year ago. So there's a lot of how you guys even came out that I don't understand, or he doesn't know, that I definitely want us to kind of walk through, so that everyone else can kind of see how you guys got where you are too, because I really want them to see that timeline. Because a lot of people don't always get to hear that. They see something blow up, in the app space or something else, and they're like, oh, geez, everyone's using this. Well, that's great, but how'd you even get here?
Right.
Because I found that I saw Bluon as an app. I never even knew that it started with refrigerant. Yeah. So yeah, let's pump the brakes and we'll back up into some of that. I know Dennis, Dennis, I know you've been on the road a bunch too. We kind of all have, but what have you been working on this week?
Well, I was going to say I've just been training, right? But I've seen 3 guys this morning I was training. They all had a Bluon hat on. So there you go. So that's good, right?
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, just training on all the, I actually train on the Bosch product. I actually am a manufacturer's rep. So we're training on the Bosch product, but I've been seeing Bluon a lot. Just all the techs, right? In the classroom. And I've actually, so I did have it downloaded when I was with the distributor. And I guess that email, when they canceled that email, I got to redo the app, or I got to go back in as I guess I'll go back in as a tech, or I'm not sure how that'll work, but.
I see. If you signed up as a distributor, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, they shut that email down. So, when I changed jobs, so I'll go back in. Bluon reminded me I needed to fix that a couple days ago. So yeah, just been training, same thing. It's that time of year. And I was going to ask you too on, as far as moving forward, we'll get into that. All the new changes, that's what we're all training on right now. And it's all just coming in really quick. We're almost
yeah.
in January, and I'm sure you've got a lot going on with that. So, what about you, Rhydon?
Pretty much, I started sending out invites for our middle of the month training this week because we're supposed to finally actually have our hands on some product. I rep the Rube product. I've been around it my whole life. So that's been my primary brand since I was 4. I keep trying to get away, but it always brings me back. HVAC always brings me back. I grew up in a contracting family, and then ended up on the wholesale side after college. So that's kind of how I got here. I've been at TM for a little over a decade. After slugging it out in the trenches of counters and inside sales first. But you get there. You got to go through it. But
I was going to say, Peter, how many guys do you have out hitting up distributors like nationwide? Guys, I guess like who you talked to, Rhydon, that came in?
It actually wasn't a distributor TM that hit me up first. I actually talked with Will from out in Colorado. He was the first guy I spoke to. Was Will and I had about a 30-minute Zoom call. I would say March, April of this year, maybe. That's where I started getting to learn a little bit about refrigerant. That's kind of where I started to get some of this, and then not long after that, you guys had the Traveling Roadshow came rolling through Charlotte. I didn't go because it doesn't always look so good when the rival TMs show up at another distributor.
Yeah, they were literally next door. You guys were next door, so.
So it's one thing, to go stake out the parking lot during lunch so I can try to eyeball your customers. But it's another one to just come walking on in like I own the place.
Yeah, why not? Go for it.
Oh, man.
I think that was, what was that? Free, or it was beer and burgers, right?
Yeah, we had this huge food truck, and we drove from LA down to Phoenix, to Texas, to Florida, up the East Coast. It was pretty cool. We spent a good 2 months on the road, and it was went through 20 cities. It was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but it was cool. Getting to talk to just thousands of techs and interact with them.
So well, let's start kind of at the beginning of what I kind of assume is the beginning. So kind of your path into heating and air conditioning, or HVACR. So how did the creation of your refrigerant happen? Was it something you were working on, or something you just kind of fell into, or how did you even get into the refrigerant game in the first place?
Yeah, it's kind of a strange story. So let's see. So I think it all started. You gotta know my original background to really understand it.
Yeah, see, that's what we're here for. We're here for
the
dirt.
Yeah. So let's see. So I originally, and still am, I guess, I'm a physicist. So I was, went to Columbia, was an applied physicist, was doing nuclear fusion research at Columbia from 88, 89, 90, 91. And then in 91, so I'm a physicist at heart. Like that's my drive. That's what I see the world through that lens. But then in 91, the program I was working on got cut by the feds. So my whole summer job and next year of my life was all of a sudden removed, like boop, gone. And of course, I don't know if you guys are old enough, but 91 was a pretty shitty year in the U.S. economy world. It was pretty bad. And so I was like, well, fuck, I can't pay my bills. So what am I going to do? So I got a job back in 91 as an analyst for this real estate company. I was a kid. I was 21 years old. Didn't know what the hell was going on, but we needed to make some money. And these, of course, the days before you go home to your parents. That was not an option back in those days.
I wish my son was listening. That's not an option here either. I just throw that out there. That doesn't have to change as we go through. Yeah, no, that's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was like that. Short story though. Before I get there, I always have this. I have this big plaque, or like a big, I don't know, like a painting kind of thing that my parents gave me when I graduated college, and it's all the canceled checks that they wrote to school. And on the back of it, it says, "Bank of Dad is closed."
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
that was pretty funny. But yeah, so here I am. That whole thing happened. I got this explained. And so I got a job at this real estate company, which I thought was going to be like a 6-month gig just to figure out what I was going to do next. But turned out I got there and, realized, how I saw the world and, whatnot was different than most in that industry. And everybody around me was making tons of money and they were not the brightest, stars in the sky.
Exactly.
And so I stayed a year, I stayed 2 years, I stayed 5 years. Next thing you know, I'm there 10 years, and I'm building a team in the commercial real estate sector. Which, long story short, turned out to be really, really fun, really lucrative. Made a ton of money. But then I get, all of a sudden it's 15, 20 years in, and I'm like, holy shit! How did I become a real estate guy? What just happened? Right? My life just evaporated. And so I just woke up one day, sort of like 39-year-old midlife crisis. And I'm like, this is crazy. What am I doing? And of course, everybody thought I was insane because I was, making a ton of money, but I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, in the world. So left, took like 6 months off, dove back into physics, dove back into just that world, and started my own little like venture capital fund to go out and finance new and interesting technologies that I can get my head wrapped around on the physics side. And one of the ideas I came across turned out to be not the right technology, but the idea was the cool one. Was this individual and the idea of creating a refrigerant that would replace R22. We all know R22 was being, back then, the phase out was just in the early phases, the early beginning of it. Everybody thought it was going to be 10 years away.
Yep.
And I knowing enough about refrigerants and enough about the commercial real estate world and how just terrible all of the prior replacements were, and there was really no large scale adoption. Everybody was avoiding them like the plague. The idea was interesting to me. I was like, that's a fascinating idea. If you could figure out how to formulate a new refrigerant that actually will be compatible with this massive amount of infrastructure that's out there that needs some solution, there's a big opportunity there. And that was really the initial concept. And then we formed Bluon in late 2011, which was really just a refrigerant R&D company at the time for 4.5 years, right? All we did was test different methods of blending and creating new refrigerants that would work in existing legacy equipment, R22 type equipment, and produce the same capacity with higher efficiency and less environmental impact. And so that's all we did, right? From 2011 to 2015 was pure white coats, chemistry lab kind of deal, working around the clock, trying to figure out how to make a better refrigerant, better mousetrap. But the real story starts when the refrigerant was created, and now we're out in the real world with my commercial real estate contacts. We have all this demand to start doing rollout programs. And then the big aha hit, because we ran into this massive group of HVAC techs who wanted no part of it, right? Because they've been burned, by all the prior replacements, and like, yeah, whatever, yeah, not interested. We've been down that road, we know that deal, and it really had no interest. And so at that moment, we had sort of an existential crisis. And what do? You either retreat or you figure out a way to get those 300,000 technicians to adopt, champion, advocate for the product. And that's where the app idea came from in like late 2016, was how do you get these guys to want to use your product? And knowing why they all got burned, I'm like, well, my idea was, if we just put all of the models in a database and let them look them up and get super simple instructions of what to do or what not to do relative to that piece of equipment, then, we'll solve that adoption problem. Of course, I was naive at the time and didn't realize there was, 100,000 models out there of R22 equipment. And but I think our naiveness was our advantage, because we went after it. Because if you knew the size of the problem, you wouldn't even try to tackle it.
Yeah, you'd be afraid to go after it. So, and that kind of, I guess that's where that shift of going to community engagement as opposed of just market to distribution was where that kind of changed, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
initially.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was sort of, people always ask you, how did you figure this out? I go, it was accidental, because we needed product adoption, and we were a refrigerant, so we had to create a brand agnostic engine for that adoption. We had to get all the information for the retrofit steps, and in order to get all that information, I had to collect all the controls, tech specs, manuals, service bulletins. I had to collect all that information. So we're like, oh, let's just put them in the database so guys can reference them when they're doing their retrofit, having not a shit clue that that data was the value, right? Being able to brand agnostic look up an owner's manual for any model number in 5 seconds is massive value. Didn't know that at the time. So what we created, this retrofit app, quickly became an information app for manuals and tech specs in real time. And that's when the aha went on. We're like, oh my God, the thirst for this knowledge in the brand agnostic platform is so big, you can't even calculate it. And that's when the light bulb went on.
Yeah, I can quantify that as a territory manager too, because the amount of times, I get, 5 to 20-year-old equipment from any other brand, and even some from my own if it's old enough, and I've got to look it up in the historical archive. It's like, where in the hell?
Well, you can't just Google it.
Yeah, you can't just Google it. It ain't coming out.
You can't Google it. That's right.
No. So now, as you started collecting this data, is that when you started looking at, well, do we hire a technician that can help us find that? Or did you continue to just do that with IT people? Or how did you start gathering all this info? Were you even able to get manufacturers to help you get it? Or did it just have to go grassroots, period?
Yeah, so fully grassroots. The lucky part was we already had, I think at the time, 5 technicians on the team that were helping us with the testing, field testing, and retrofit process, right? So we had a team. Those guys are still here today, same guys, and so we already had this great sort of little focus group in terms of what the eyes of a tech want to see, but then. The initial data collection was just those 5 guys, like just ripping through thousands and thousands of equipment, scraping, gathering. I always tell this story that, you got to almost lie, steal, and cheat until you're big enough where everybody wants to give you what you were lie, stealing, and cheating about.
That's true. That's
because we were scraping everything we could get our hands on, right? Because that was the name of the game. But then when you get big enough, now most OEMs are giving us their data because they want it to be correct, on the platform for the community to see. But you can never get them to do it unless you are big enough to get them to do it, right? So it's like the chicken and egg. You got to figure out a way to get the data initially. Luckily, legally it's all public domain, so you can scrape it. But it's a pain in the ass, right? It's super difficult, to do it that way. But yeah, so the secret to our sauce is we've got our team, our database team is largely consisting of HVAC techs who are also, they're out there, by the way, they're not many of them, who are also like computer software guys. So we've had to find these strange unicorns that speak both languages. And we've got 12 of them on the team. And that's the secret, because you can't just unpack this stuff if you don't know the industry. It's foreign. You would have no clue what to do.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely and then of course as we built it up, then we moved further along. We bought I don't know if you guys remember, we bought a company called XREF, which was a huge database of 40 years of historical models and parts and bombs and specs and whatnot. So now it's all together in one. We think we have the largest, a brand agnostic database, in the world that supports about 400,000 models and about, 6 or 7 million parts, all with specs and cross references. So it's pretty powerful stuff.
So I was going to say, when I was on the tech support side, so I was a tech support guy for Rhyd for about 5 years. And, this was not too long ago. And when I started to get wind of this app, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have had this when I was in the field, right? And I downloaded the app and I had it as a distributor and I was going through it, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna use this tech this tech support deal. So I hit the button. Of course, I wasn't working on anything. I'm sitting at my desk waiting on a call to come in, right? So I'm like, I gotta check this out. I hit it. It's like, what you working on? I said, heat pump. It takes you through a couple other things. Within a minute, this guy picks up, and of course I don't remember his name, but I think he was. I was going to ask you this, but as far as timing, I don't know. He was I don't know where he was at in the country, but he picked up and super nice. I mean, easy to talk to. He's like, "What you working on?" I was like, "Well, I'm actually not working on anything. I figured I'd just call you and see what how do you like your job and how does it go? I'm a tech support guy." And we literally talked for probably 45 minutes. And he was just pumped, man. You could just tell his demeanor was, and I guarantee you I could have called one of my other tech support guys and he would have not been like that.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? It was, it's that culture that you're building. I can just tell. And we went into, how you get calls to go from him to another guy. Maybe I'm working on a 10-ton package unit and that's not his thing. So you've got guys that is their thing, right? So you can kind of hand it off. And I was just curious if you got any more info on that, like how many guys you got. I think at that time he said 30, maybe 30 guys. This was probably 6 months ago or something. This was this past summer, but
sounds right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we went into everything, right? But what's your plan there? Just keep building on that.
The tech support team is the heart of the company, and we treat them as such. So, these guys are really incredible human beings, right? These are guys that are incredibly well, like their knowledge base is off the charts, right? These guys are really top 0.1% in knowledge, but that's just the beginning of it. Then they're able to de-escalate somebody. So they have the personality to de-escalate people.
Right.
And then they have the mental ability to visualize the situation they're in, right? So they have this sort of three-dimensional view of the world. They de-escalate. And the most important part of all of them is they all get genuine, heartfelt satisfaction of helping another tech. Like that gets them fired the fuck up, right?
Yeah, if you don't have that in tech support, you might as well get out because it's going to be
exactly.
I mean, it is. It's you gotta. That's what I'm saying. Like his demeanor was. Of course, I didn't have a huge problem for him. He was probably stoked, but it was. You could just tell it's different.
Easiest call of the day, right there.
Right. And I told him, I said, this is going to be your easiest call you've had all week. And he's just like, oh boy, and, but
these guys, was scared.
So we went into that. We went into the culture of tech support. And because I'm that guy, like I was that guy to where I wanted to help everybody that called in. Cause I've been the tech at 10 at night with me and the owner. It was just me and him, and I didn't have anybody to call. Like you hit a wall, man. When you hit a wall, you got the homeowner standing over you. It's not good. I mean, it's not good at all. So, I do like that whole. I think what you're building there is definitely something we need. And as far as getting them knowledge on all the brands and everything, that's going to be tough. It is what it is. There's so much product coming out. And so how do these guys get trained on new product, right? Are they just constantly, what's y'all's process on that?
That is the $1 million question. I mean, it's sort of the challenge we're facing right now, right? Because don't forget, we've grown so much so fast in the last 2 years. I mean, 2 years ago we had like 7 guys in tech support. Now we have 40, right? So it's and we're taking 500 to 600 calls a day. It's a pretty healthy operation, and keeping them up to speed, particularly now with all these transitions coming out and new equipment going to go through some significant changes, as we all know. The good news is we're big enough now where we get the support of the OEMs. So working with them to be in a regular cadence of keeping our guys trained and creating a system whereby the guys that are expert in that type of equipment in that size can get the goods and then process that back to the team. I mean, the key is having a team that reflects the community, right? So that's been the challenge, is making sure that our 40 guys going to 50 next year reflect the incoming calls on an equipment type and problem type, right?
Okay,
And
so yeah, that was my next question was, and you kind of answered it. Do they get funneled to specific segments? Like, all right, these guys do residential 5 ton and down. These guys do, mid-sized commercial. Okay,
they do now, and it's going to be we're launching a new tech support. So right now, when you call into tech support, you hit that button like you talked about. You actually, there's a call being made that gets placed to the proper tech support guy based upon the couple questions you answered before you made the call.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty good. The new version, which is going to be launched in the early spring, the tech support will all happen from the model homepage. So when you're on the model, whatever the model that is you're working on, you'll make the call from there. It'll connect you directly. It'll all be video conferencing if you want, with the ability to draw and see what they're looking at. But the cool part is, because it knows the piece of equipment you're on, our ability to give you the right person gets more granular. Right now, we can give you the real exact person relative to that exact piece of equipment you're working on, and the whether it's an electrical problem or a tuning problem, or 4 or 5 different macro types of problems. So we'll be able to really air traffic control the information relative to who the right expert is. And of course, they can't do it. The cool part is that the guys on the team are really good at knowing what they don't know, and not being afraid to admit it, and handing off to the guys that do know, which I think is an important part of the team. But yeah, our biggest challenge right now over the next year is keeping everybody trained on the new stuff coming out. Like, that is our number one priority over the next year on the tech support team.
Well, that's tough for everybody right now, right? I mean, it's easy when you got one brand. I mean, I'm on one brand now, so it's not that hard. But on your guys' side, I mean, geez, I mean, it's getting crazy. You got, but of course, Rhydon,
Oh, I know, and
techs have to deal with everything, right?
That's right.
You got whatever they're selling, they're putting that in. The installers get comfortable, but the service techs are walking up on everything. So, I'll say this on the show a million times, right? Everybody needs to just take as much training as you can.
Always.
I feel like the training I was doing today, right? They said they give me 2 hours to go over this product. 2 hours and 5 minutes goes by, and the boss is like, "Hey, you got to wrap this up, man. These guys have got to go." And I'm just like, they just don't set enough time aside. I mean, but the calls are coming in, right? The bills got to get paid. The calls are coming in. We got to go. But
it's a big challenge. I mean, I've had the privilege, or whatever you want to call it, of being able to speak to a lot of senior management, at the big OEMs and the big distributors, and with some exceptions. So there's some exceptions to this rule, but for the most part, there's a shocking lack of appreciation for the amount of knowledge that we need to transfer into this giant body of technicians over the next 2 years. It's daunting, and yet it's being somewhat ignored by the bulk of the industry.
Oh, that's an understatement.
And
Well, and I'll be honest. I said, I'm looking at certain brands that may look over engineered now versus other brands that look like they've done less than others. But there's a lot of these ones that may have just lopped off the bottom. Because that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of people, they just eliminated 14 SEER and they're moving up to whatever their single stage 15 or 16 was, and they're hoping it rates when they re-rate it all. The problem is, a lot of that product was designed, years ago. It's not ready for flipping refrigerants and flipping compressors yet.
No, it is not.
Some people's is, and some people's are not. And that's where pricing discrepancies are a nightmare right now. No one wants to even let pricing go out there. That's a whole other ball of wax. The limited amount of SEER 2 competitive information Good job everyone holding it close to the chest, but nobody knows where anyone's going to fall right now.
Right.
And a lot of these guys, they may look like they're going to be cheap or cheaper when they go into market in 23, but at some point, in order to be ready for 25, they're going to have re-engineering costs start adding up into 24 and 25, and you're going to see that price go up, and you're going to see that equipment change in one way or another. It's going to happen.
Oh, it's definitely going to happen. That's going to happen, and there's going to be wholesale reversals in certain markets.
Yeah.
This fantasy that all building codes, fire codes, operating lease codes are all going to change lockstep with A2L introductions is just absolute nonsense. It's
not here. We're not going to be able to pull that off here.
No, no chance.
The United States is just, God, they're terrible at that.
Too litigious. Yeah.
I was in.
It's just not going to work like that.
Not going to work.
I was in Texas a week and a half ago, looking at the factory for training for my product, and one of the things we even talked about was, okay, well, we do finally have a refrigerant change coming. Let's look at the map of how many states have even approved legislation to let that refrigerant be in the state.
Right.
It's like 11 out of 50.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think it's 8 out of 50, and like 7 or 8 have it on the docket, and the other 36 have done nothing.
And even the states that have it on the docket or in, you still have to go 3 more levels deep, right? Because even if the state lets it in, then the building's got to let it in, then the fire code's got to let it in, and then your operating lease clause has to let it in as a tenant if you're a commercial tenant. So it's like, who's smoking what? Like there's that, for that to happen is a 15-year exercise, not a 2-year exercise.
No, 2 years. I was going to say, we're down. We're at 2 now.
It's nuts.
I remember,
amazingly, North Carolina's done it. That blows my mind.
North Carolina lines up with California.
California ain't got it done. That's what's funnier. They ain't got it done yet.
But even in California, I would say that 99% of commercial office buildings still won't let it in. So you could have all the rules you want that said it's okay and regulate it as okay, but if you can't get it in the building because of either the ownership or the building code or the operating lease clause, it doesn't matter, right? It's all for nothing.
So speaking of that, is there plans? And I know we're jumping around here, but we're rolling. So, is there plans on 410A drop in? If we call it a drop in, we shouldn't call it a drop in. But I don't know.
I guess
what's the deal with that?
I mean, everything's gonna. If I feel like, sorry.
I mean, how hard of a stop is that gonna be? Right? I mean, do we know?
Well, because everyone drops in everything on 22, whether it's a drop in or not. It's almost like I feel like when you start designing for 410, you might as well just engineer it as a drop in and not a replacement. I don't know.
It's I spent a lot of time in that world. Our business, of course, is evolving away from the refrigerant, and we're looking to partner on the refrigerant side so we can be sort of more brand agnostic on the platform side. But yeah, I mean, it's a much more difficult challenge than the R22 replacement world because of the GWP requirements and the flammability requirements. You really have your hands behind your back. You can't, like, developing a product that will work and not be a massive, efficiency loss or capacity loss is a massive challenge. Even the ones that are out there now. I mean, you look at whether it's 454B or 466A. These are not great options, like relative to 466A. I mean, if you think 410A craps out in high ambient, look out, right? That thing is a disaster when you get above 100 degrees. So there's all these problems that nobody seems to care about, when they're looking at them. It's a mystery.
Because they only care about what's in their bubble.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been starting my classes with, if you want to retire, now's your chance. Like, if you're and I'm looking out there, and there's guys like in their late 50s, and there's like, next week I go to train and they're not there. They just hung it up. They're like, you know what? I'm out. This is, I start talking about the refrigerants. They're going to have to carry at least 5 jugs of something in their van, different jugs.
Well, and speaking of that, I keep hearing about them wanting to make it to where we have to use refillable cylinders for everything.
Oh
How
yeah, that's
That
coming.
keeps
how
getting shot
how on
down, but it
yeah
keeps getting thrown back
Well,
up again.
it's in the it's in the AIM Act. It's coming. I mean, and without legislative revision, it's coming. I mean, it has to happen right before 2025, based upon the current legislation. I'm with you. That's going to be a challenge, but there's no infrastructure for it whatsoever. It's a
Yeah. So what would be the move on that? Distributors have to.
we have to have a gas station. Literally, we all got to go
Well,
bury like 6 tanks underground and fill them with refrigerator.
it'd probably be like Canada. I mean, Canada works that way. The problem is it adds like $150 to every canister because you have the deposit. So now just the cost of doing business goes up, and of course it alters the way in which those canisters fit in your. Everything's different, right? They're a different shape. They're different. The way you interact with them is different. But yeah, I'm with you. It's that
Yeah,
challenge.
the infrastructure is what I'm thinking of. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's set up for that.
No, not even close. And of course, all of the reclamation, right? Because now once nobody can make high GWP HFCs like a 410, all of it's going to be reclaimed. And right now, the reclamation in the residential sector is basically zero. So trying to figure out how to move that needle, we're working on that with a couple of large players. That's a big deal. And we're sending 10 million pounds of R22 up in the atmosphere every year just because techs don't have recovery machines on the residential side.
So you're saying
and
that
some
letting
of
it
that-
loose in a gallon of water does not work? Is that what you're
doesn't
saying?
work.
Dang it! Everybody's just been lied to their whole life on it.
Damn it! Yeah.
Well, the problem with reclamation on the distribution side too is okay. Even if you've got guys that are reclaiming it, half of them are reclaiming what some other jackleg mix matched. So as soon as the distributor sends those jugs back, nothing's clean, so we don't get paid, but we still got to pay the contractor. That's why every distributor got out of it, because we were just the guy in the middle that got screwed, which is pretty much what distribution is most of the time. But
well, and so you start tightening up on all this, like all these costs just going to get funneled down to the homeowner, right? That's the end.
No doubt.
That's where it has to go. I don't know where else it's supposed to go, but
yeah,
it has to go there. I don't know how many times I've said that on here. Poor homeowners just getting hammered.
Oh, they're going to get crushed.
I mean, all right. So what else do you have coming down the pipeline you want to talk about that's new? I know you were talking about the getting the parts. I used to have to go get the parts out of the bushes from the distributor. I'm going to love that new deal. Leaving it out back, after hours. Is that going to be so when did you say you're launching that?
Well, I'll take a little step back there. So, I mean, so we have this massive community, we have all these techs interacting and we're supporting them in all kinds of different ways. Tech support, data, information, connectivity. Our forum is super active with guys asking questions, which we just got an upgrade, by the way, this week. Check it out. The real big change, which, is sort of in its infancy, is the ability for a tech in the field to super easily check availability and pricing with their local distributor, ridiculously easily without having to think about it, right? Because we've done all the work. All we need to do is pick the model number. The system knows what the part number is for that model number. It also knows all of the cross-reference replacements for that part number. So when you ask your local distributor, company X, for a quote, they already have all that data. It shows up in their system. Oh, I need this, contactor, this compressor, and here's all of the compatible options that make sense on the brands I carry as distributor X. So their job just became super easy. Their counter staff are now, expert, even though they don't have to know anything. They just know how to read a incoming request. And all that information flows very rapidly back to the tech with a quick quote on what they need, and they can move forward. And so building that system out was incredibly difficult. but now it's operational and it's really slick. So now getting techs to start to use that as their normal course of action. And then what we're adding now, which I mentioned earlier, is the ability to have that once you did that process and you got your quote and now you want to get part X or part Y, you can hit a button and Curry will pick it up and bring it to you, for like $25, right? So it's super cheap and makes the whole process of getting what you need where you're at in real time with the whole normal experience of the map and tracking and just a very easy experience we've all come accustomed to in the current world with delivery of everything under the sun and making that very seamless. But the big issue is having guys get the right part that they need with not having to do a 20-minute back and forth with a local distributor on Alpha Tango Bravo. What are you talking about? All that goes away because it's all taken care of by the system.
So my question, I guess, allow me to play distribution devil's advocate here.
Please.
So
I know you don't get that ever.
You
right?
never get that. Here's your opportunity, sir. So first question is, when let's say you're going to bring on a new distributor, and part of the whole thing is finding a way for parts to kind of be universal. So I'm guessing, one of the major steps is, does that distributor have to tell you exactly what, all of their part numbers are for all of this part and all of this, so that you can make your database sync up with what you would be sending? Like, say this 45.5 cap is part 123YF. Almost had a refrigerant there. It's close. In your system, but over here it's 824Z5. So it knows if your guy sees this part as this and your system is going to order as this here. And then how much does the distributor actually have to open up, their database, if it's even possible, in order to get that partnership to work?
Yeah.
Is it advantageous for what they have to give up to get that access?
Those are great questions. And so I think what we went into this knowing those challenges. And so we first decided to not do inventory integration because the resistance is big time, right? Nobody wants to show us or anybody else their inventory or their pricing. So what we did is we created this really interesting, low barrier, easy adoption, high value system. So imagine techs in the field, they're on a carrier, blah, 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 unit X pack, they're like a 10-ton package unit, and they're looking to get, even it could be as complicated as a compressor. It could be, anything that's in the bill of materials, which could be up to like 120 parts on that model number. So we have all that data for 345,000 models, the bill of materials that's specific to that model number in the field. So all they have to do is know what model number they're working on, and they just got to know what part they want. They don't need to know the number. All they do is say, I need a contactor, I need a filter dryer, I need the hard start capacitor, I need whatever the thing is by name. And then that information gets sent to, so we already know where these guys shop based on what they tell us. So I know Jimmy the tech has accounts at 4 distributors. He wants to send this to this one. He picks, it's his choice. So it goes to that distributor that he has an account at, but it comes with all of the cross-reference alternative part numbers based upon that local distributor, what they carry. So a local distributor carries, these 12 brands and these 12, aftermarket part brands. So we can supply them with the OEM part number, but also the compatible part numbers that work in its stay that they would know based upon their ERP. Then they're just clicking a box relative to which one they have, put the price in and send it back. So they are doing that step. So it is an extra step for them, but because it saves them like 10 to 15 minutes of research on the cross-reference, they're all gung-ho about it. And they don't have to worry about the incoming information relative to what that tech is looking for, because the system has done all the work to tell them exactly what that part number is, and there's no confusion relative to the request. So there's one extra step by the distributor, but the information is so specific and comprehensive to what they carry, it lets them do their job in seconds versus 15 minutes.
I mean, yeah, you say that's an extra step, but I mean, I've been on the counter and taken a call, and you're going to do that half of that anyway.
Right.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, you're really cutting out quite a few steps. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're headed. You know, when we hit the COVID time, you know, me and Rhydon were in the branch and we were on lockdown, and you had to set the part out on the dock. And I was like, if I was a tech, I would be crushing this. Like, you want me to text you what I need, and you're just going to set it out here, and I'm just going to grab it and go. Like, that's what I should, you know, that's where we're headed anyway. I mean, so trying to simplify, you know, the days of coming in, and I hate it, but the days of coming in and sitting up at the counter and just drinking coffee and hanging out are just gone. Like, that new generation doesn't do that.
You're right. Yeah.
You know, we used to make popcorn in the branch and that whole deal, and you just hanging out, and you might buy something that day there. You might not, you know.
You might get kicked out because you ate all the popcorn.
Right. I mean, you got business owners now that their techs, you know, look, guys, we're not hanging out at the branch. You go there, your order's ready, pick it up, let's go. I put it in last night.
Exactly.
You know, that's where we're headed. So,
Bingo. The only challenge of that, which I think is what we're trying to hoping to solve, is that the younger guys who are more inclined to what you just described are also the less inclined to know what exact part they want, right?
Yep.
Because they don't have the experience or the knowledge to do so. So what we're trying to do is say, hey, let us do the work on that. All you got to do is tell us what model number you're on, and the rest of it gets taken care of. And then what you just described can happen without them, you know, having to worry about ordering the wrong part. It's interesting. We did a survey of about 3,000 of our techs, and this will kind of blow your mind. The younger they were, the less likely they were to use existing e-commerce for their job. And that's because they're afraid of getting the wrong thing, right? But it's so backwards, right? Any other industry, obviously, the younger you are, the more likely you are to use e-commerce. But in HVAC, it's upside down because the fear factor goes so far up. Yeah.
So you're saying they want to hear a guy looking it up and telling them.
Yep. Well, but that does make sense for this generation because they don't want to accept responsibility for
That's
anything.
Right. You just nailed it. That's
Bingo.
what it is.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I didn't get the wrong part. He ordered it. I didn't order
That's
it.
it. Well, I called him. He looked up the wrong thing. He said this is what was going to fix it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The distributor always gets the blame for letting the smoke out of the control board.
Yeah. That's right. And a lot of our distributor partners are super stoked because they're having a hard time replacing the guys with all the tribal knowledge with the younger guys who just don't have that depth of understanding. They can't do the cross reference that fast. It takes them way longer. So the system we built lets a green 22-year-old be able to do super fast cross referencing. It's all right there.
So what is your biggest kickback you get from a distributor? Like, what's the biggest thing they won't let you in?
They won't let us in.
I think their biggest concern is pricing, right? They don't want the quote prices that they're giving to customer X to be publicly available, right? They don't want those prices to be known by other customers in that distributor and also their competitors. So that's kind of our biggest challenge, is to make it clear to them that we're not sharing the information. It's safe, it's protected. But I think that's a big issue. That's
what I was thinking.
I'm sure that's probably pretty much numero uno. But
yeah, and as you guys know, they have these guys will have 15, 20 price schedules for different customers, so it's not so simple.
No, it is not anymore.
But yeah, so what do you think's gonna happen between now and 2025 with the generation of techs and business owners we got currently? I mean, are we forcing the old guys out, or who's next, or what is our what are we looking at in this industry? Your opinion?
That's a great question. I mean, I think something's got to give, right? Because there's the pressure coming from the new regs hasn't been fully realized yet by the industry, right? So the OEMs feel it the most. Distributors are starting to feel it. Contractors are kind of in the dark, and techs are totally in the dark, right? So there's this huge lag of that information and what it means to day in and day out work. But in terms of what it does to the industry, HVAC is such a weird place because it's like one of the last few entrepreneurial industries where the average size of a shop is like 4 guys, right? And that's what drives the market. And so it's this deeply fragmented business model that is difficult to roll up because of all the nuances of it. Yeah, it's a hard question. I mean, I think that the guys that can adapt, and because ultimately it comes down to the guys that can have the right team that is up to speed and can maneuver efficiently in the new rules, as those get changed.
Yep.
And the guys that can get ahead of that, which is going to be hard to see. I almost think the smaller shops might have an advantage. I mean, the bigger guys who are just so slow to train their guys, at least from my perspective, could be a challenge. But it's a tough one. I don't think I have a great view on what.
Yeah, there's really no answer to that.
Yeah.
I guess that's our famous line that Dennis has always coined is evolve or dissolve.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are now.
Yeah, no doubt. Because the rules haven't set in yet. They're going to change, right? I think the rules that are out there now are going to change. Those are not the rules we're going to see in 2 years. They're going to be different.
Well, and that's what we were talking about earlier. Like we said, there's brands that are all in the middle of everything right now. Every brand is going to have some kind of massive change in one way or another again before this is over. We're already seeing.
Well, and I'm not a big
crazy stuff.
I'm not a big politic guy, right? But a different administration could change everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Or can it?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so.
It's got a little bit more challenge to it, but it definitely can, and likely will, in terms of regardless of which way it goes, there'll be changes, right? In one way or the other. So yeah, I think that's definitely true, and there's such a lack of appreciation for the big long tail of these changes that the regulators just don't care, right? It always drives me crazy. They don't realize the repercussions of these moves and how they impact just so many, just thousands of companies that are having to deal with these changes without any understanding of what's coming next.
Well, I don't know if you've been in a community college lately and looked at their equipment. It's not current.
Right.
I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I hope there's some out there. I'm not, but I talk to these techs that I'm training, like, this guy, he just got out of school. And I'm like, what are you training on in there? And they're in there like, this is a contactor. And all this stuff's great. And they got to have that. But these schools are selling these kids that when you get out, you're ready to go and you're going to make all this money because they're a business too, right? Mm-hmm. It is what it is. And these community colleges and stuff are so behind, man.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know what the answer for that is either. I mean,
God,
it's up to these, it's up to the distributors. And, we're a manufacturer's rep. I'm training 3 days a week all over North and South Carolina. I mean, I'm just, I'm burning up the road just on my brand, my one little brand. And I'll just start questioning these guys, after class or whatever. You see the young kid come up to you and he's just asking you a million questions and they're just completely blindsided. There's a lot of getting ready to hit them.
I will say one thing, by being front and center in the tech support side of the business, the amount of questions we get, which are really just basic fundamental questions, is mind-blowing, right? And so you talk about the next generation of equipment, but these guys, I would say, from my experience, if you polled 100 new guys, let's say they're 2 years in the business or less than a quarter of them could even name the 4 components of the cycle. They couldn't.
Right.
So,
and they may have went to school.
And they went to school. Right. Exactly.
Right.
And I would say less than 20% know what a dual column PT chart is, right? So these are fundamental challenges that we got to get over before you even start talking about the new stuff, right? How do they even go to the new stuff without that stuff?
Well, and they got it, that comes back to the company, right? They got to put them in a van. They got to get going. You got these guys just fire up these businesses, and they're like, I don't have time to train this guy. I'm like, well, you got to.
Someone's got
right?
to.
I don't know.
There's
you have to. He has to be trained. I don't have time. I can't afford to train him. You
can't afford not to.
Well, then you can't start this business. I don't know what to say about that.
You're right.
But that's what's happening. They're all just thrown out there. I was one of those guys. I'd come out of school and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then, I got to get in the van. Oh, I got 10 calls a day. Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got to learn to talk to a homeowner immediately. That's a whole nother training session. But
the shortage, the labor shortage is going to be the big issue, because all the new equipment is going to make the labor shortage just way more acute. And these guys are going to have to get. So what we're really gearing up to is to provide, I call it just-in-time training. So when the guys are in front of that situation, they can watch, a 1-minute video or get something really quick and direct to that point. How we all learned as kids, we learned to memorize and sort of to be proactive in our training. The kids, 25 and below, they index knowledge. They don't remember anything. They just need to know where to go to find it, not what it is.
Yeah, when they leave that call, they're done with that one.
Right.
They didn't learn shit.
Where to find it. So the key is so it is a different ballgame, but we're spending a lot of time on trying to create that just-in-time training where these guys can get at least the beginning of it and then want to follow that through. But man, it's a big mountain. That is a mountain to climb.
Well, and you say that, it's not just a mountain on the contractor side. Again, referencing back to where I was a week and a half ago, the amount of guys that were in that room that were TMs with, 18 months or less in the field. These guys don't even know what the refrigeration cycle is.
Right.
They're like, well, that guy needed a compressor. I got him a compressor. I was like, well, what does it do? I don't know.
God.
Yeah. And I lived that life when I started in wholesale. I worked for a big national distributor. I went in there as a management trainee, got promised to be outside. The problem was the guys they kept putting outside kept calling me inside because they didn't know what they were doing. So someone had to know how to do it for them. I remember guys that were TMs that were 6 months in, and they're calling me going, can we quote 10 line sets? What's a line set? I was like, you got promoted before I did. I'm in the wrong business. But it was just time and time again. And I saw that same thing, some of these guys are younger, some of them are older, changing careers. And it's deer in headlights. They have no idea what they're doing. I said, if you don't know the basics of this, I said, any contractor you meet's going to laugh you out of the room, man.
Yep.
I said, you've got to get a handle on it. And I guess, I was lucky enough. I grew up in some of it. So a lot of it got drilled into my head, but even just the simple basics, there's nothing even for these TMs to really go through that they can comprehend or understand, because no one took the time to figure out their learning style to teach them what they need to know to even go do that. It's just, here, take this motor, show everybody this motor and sell some. Here, take this brochure, show everybody do something. It comes down to, here's your script, but then you lose the whole point of even having a TM that can help you out of a jam.
Right. What's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that those problems, which are systemic, are going to show themselves to be much more problematic as we go through this transition, right?
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that's what we're all thinking about.
I was going to say, we don't want to keep you on too long. You've been killing on here. I got two big questions for you.
Hit me.
All right. The first one is, what is your go-to podcast?
Oh, man.
I don't care what it is. I'm a big golf podcast guy. Secretly, I'm trying to make this a golf podcast, but I can't seem to get Rhydon on board.
I would say
message from Doc after that one.
The only podcast I listen to with any type of regularity would be Rogan.
Okay. Hey,
It's
yeah,
a
you
good one.
can't beat
It's
Rogan.
a good one. It's hard to beat Rogan.
All right, and the other one is, what is your most recent, what's your go-to music? What's your downloads? Your latest music downloads? You listen to music in the car, or you listen to
the latest. Well, I do a lot of I do mostly either Spotify or Pandora, so it's not really specific, but I would say I'm like an alt music kind of guy. The last album I bought was the new Chili Peppers album. Just came out a couple weeks ago.
I was so getting ready to ask if it was the new Chili
Well,
Peppers
I was going
So I've been cranking that one in the office as of late. Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because it's funny, you don't really buy music anymore because you just listen to the.
Yeah, I'm a Spotify guy. That's me. I pay for that. I mean, it is what it is. You gotta. I think Rhydon's a Pandora guy.
I do both.
Actually, I've been an iHeart guy since.
iHeart. Okay, that's right.
However, now I will say, kudos to Pandora because HVAC R&D kills it over there.
Yeah, that's our biggest.
So, I never imagined that would be our biggest traffic spot, but we absolutely blow the doors off on Pandora.
Yeah,
awesome.
We barely have much on Spotify. It's just completely backwards.
Spotify has taken some time to dig in over there. Now, granted, we've not been on because initially funny story with the podcast thing. Half the places want MP3s, half of them want MP4s, and half the hosting companies will only support so many of either one. So when we started this thing, we're like, well, which hosting company does the most that's most economical, and we'll start there first.
Yeah, you'd think you could just get one host, but it just don't work that way. Yeah.
No, so we started over here, and that's kind of how we've been on Pandora and a lot of those since late 2020, which we talk about lockdown changing everything. Lockdown's what got us into doing this finally. But then it took us a little bit of time to start having enough to where we could start putting it on another platform, then loading it all up over there. So I guess it's you guys deal with that, Apple and Android.
Oh yeah,
two sides of the market. I'm sure that's a fun integration.
Yeah, those two still just don't. Those two still don't jive, man.
Everyone hates my Android because you all have Apple products.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Well, what we do, I mean, a lot of guys now use what's called not to get too in the geek weeds, but it's called React Native. It's a language that you can use that automatically splits itself into iOS and Android. So you just have to, basically develop in one thing, and then it automatically will create the version, for both iOS and Android. So it makes developing a lot easier. Before you had to have two separate teams.
I like it.
I need that so I can see Rhydon's videos and they're not 3 megapixel.
And vice versa.
It's funny because it's interesting because the HVAC community as a whole is predominantly Android, but our users are about 60% iOS as a rule, give or take.
Wow.
Who knows why?
Well, techie, all your real big tech guys are Android because you can do more. But the Apple product, man, it still just works and it never has to be cleaned up. Like, what's the deal with that?
It just doesn't break. Yeah.
My Fire Stick has to be reset like I don't know how many times. And my Apple TV, I haven't reset it in 8 years. There's a difference there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just one's $29, one's $19, and one's $200. But
that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right? It's throwaway. One's throwaway, and the other one you just keep. But well, thanks for coming on the show, man. You crushed it. We got a lot of info.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you guys do, and it's super useful to get this info out, and it takes guys like you guys to keep everybody informed, and in a way that is actually entertaining and people will absorb it. Right in this day and age, you can have all the info if you want, but if it's not at least a little bit entertaining, you sure shit not going to absorb it. That's the whole truth.
Hopefully you didn't drink too many vodkas over there.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. All right. Yep. I got 2 beers down over here. Riding.
Well, hey, hopefully maybe we'll get to cheers you at AHR, since they keep saying.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
There's going to be a bar
Absolutely.
there. So,
Okay.
most
We're
definitely.
gonna
I look
have
forward to
a
that.
pretty killer setup this year. That's gonna be pretty awesome.
I was going to
Like,
say,
Yeah,
it's
we'll
a
have to-
good time
we'll have
for you
schedule
to.
some time to come over to the booth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. You guys will be doing like that normal podcast area.
Yeah, we've got most of our shows are in the afternoon. Our meet and greets are kind of middle of the day, so that we wanted to have the mornings to kind of be able to go around and meet people and spend some
Yeah.
time on the floor with people. So
Well, definitely, yeah. We're gonna have a whole like bar set up at our area. So yeah, feel free to come over and enjoy a beverage of your choice.
Nice. All right, we'll see you soon, man. And we'll see you at AHR probably.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Right on, guys. Well,
All right.
thanks a lot.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good night.
Cheers.
If you stumble, go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 belly dancers. The world I love, the tears I've dropped to be part of the wave can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you? The world I love, the trains I hop to be part of the wave can't stop.